Hey, it's Brandon with Lady and the Lineman. Sticking with the Lightburn series. Today I want to talk about something that, in my opinion, is probably the most crucial technique used in your startup of your laser, and that is material testing. One of my least favorite things to do is put material on my laser and pretend that I know exactly what speed, what power that's going to run well at, and then realize that I was wrong, which tended to happen pretty often when I first started, and to be honest, it still happens today. But the way to eliminate that is material tests. So what this does is, based on the settings that you provide Lightburn, will give you different speeds, different powers, and the result of each of those. So this is on slate. I have this wood thing. This is like cardboard, metal cards, and you can do them different sizes too. So, remember, I just dropped it's in my hand. So you can do different sizes too. So if you just wanted to use a very small piece of your material to test and see what power settings to be using, this is the way to do it. So let's move over to Lightburn and I will show you the very quick way to get that done. All right, so we're in the home screen of Lightburn here. And we are gonna go up here to the top toolbars. And the fifth one from the left is laser tools. So click that, and we're gonna go down to material test. So that's gonna bring up this prompt here. And here's where you can set all of your nitty-gritty settings. So if you want to just leave it as is, which actually, you know what, I've never done, because I don't think my machine running at 18,000 millimeters a minute is going to go that great. So generally that's down, I don't know, I don't usually run my machine any faster than 3,000, and even that's very few and far between. So I'll usually set this down at like 3,000, depending on what I'm doing. If I'm trying to cut through something, then I'll probably leave that at about 1,000 and run this down to like 200, 250. You can choose how many squares you want on your X and Y axis. So if you wanted 10 for speed and 5 for power, or vice versa, this is where you would change that. So if we were to leave it exactly how I have it set, at 600 millimeters on our low speed, with 3,000 as our high speed, and we wanted to go from 10% to 100% on the power, it would look like this. Oh, sorry, I've inverted on. It would look like that. Size-wise, this is 5 millimeters by 5 millimeters. So if you wanted to do a smaller piece of your material, but you wanted to keep the 10 by 10 grid, you could change that and drop that down to however large you'd like. And your machine will start it pretty much centered at 200 millimeter by 200 millimeter on your X and Y axis. So that's where it's going to be placed on your print bed. So if you wanted to change that, you would just move these around. So if you wanted to get less Y or less X, more or less, whatever you want to do, you just kind of move it around here. Alternatively, what I have done is hit the frame button and then seen where it's at, and then I'll just physically move my laser into position and then hit start. If you have the setting where your laser goes home first before it does anything, then that's not going to work. But mine starts from wherever I have it start from. So other settings. So your material settings are here. Hold on. So, okay, here it is. So make sure you have these on output. So like your text setting, if you don't have it, it'll come up, and notice how there's no text for power, speed, anything like that. But if we come in here to the edit text and output that, now we have our speed, our power, the interval, and how many passes. So if you were gonna do a material test for cutting, you could actually do multiple passes. I know my machine, it can do like a single pass cut, but it's generally not as clean. It's just letting it go a couple of times over with air assist. But you can see here that with the 600 to 3,000 millimeter per minute range I gave it, these are the intervals. So they're not super even. But for instance, you could look at this and say, okay, well at 60% power and 1400 speed, I have the best result that I'm looking for. And the best result you're looking for may be different than what someone else is using. So when you look at slate, that's not very bright, hold on. Yeah, it's a little better. So when you burn slate, you can have it go from where you're actually just kind of burning it here and it's turning a white, like your natural slate engraving you'd see. But if you burn it just a little bit, it actually starts to turn gold. So if there was something specific that you wanted different colors, this is just an example of slate, this material test would tell you how to do that. Another really beneficial piece to the material testing is if you wanted to try doing these painted tiles that are painted different colors, you can see what color what layer each color is at. So depending on my speed, I had white paint here, I had gray paint, I had black paint, and then I painted it pink on the top layer. So if for whatever reason I had something that was black, gray, white, and pink, I could make that image just based off of the settings. So I don't know if you can tell. So if you notice here too, the text is way too deep. And the way I messed that up, which I mean, maybe you want it fully engraved in your material, but it didn't help me out. So where I messed that up was in text settings here. I had this set at way too slow. So right now it's set at 2000, get you up there, which that's great, that works fine. 80% is a little bit hot, so I'd probably drop that down to like, I think 70 is my sweet spot with my laser for just about anything. To not burn it, but also to give me an idea of where I'm at. So around 2072 is kind of my sweet spot for the text. But again, that's my laser, and I don't have, I mean, I have like a Frankenstein laser at this point, so don't take my settings. Or do, I don't know, maybe their settings work for you too. It'd be perfect, we can be settings buddies. But yeah, so that's really it. Right now I have my machine set to rotary, so if I was to run this, I could run it on a cup or something that's curved and get a settings test on that. I might actually have one sitting right. Okay, so here's an example of a material test on a tumbler. So if you have a rotary, as long as you have the enable rotary setting and all of your basic rotary settings activated on your Lightburn, then you could do it on rounded objects too, which for sure is super helpful because tumblers are expensive, and believe me, I've wasted quite a few of them. So do your material test. It literally takes a few minutes and it will save you so much material. Yeah, that's about it. If you guys have any questions or any recommendations on Lightburn videos, let me know. But aside from that, thank you for the support, and let me know if you guys have any questions in the comments.